The following video contains depictions and or mentions of religious imagery, which some people may find offensive or disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. My name is Kai and without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into today's video. So anyways, before we got into it, I wanted to quickly show you guys this gift that my little sister made for me and it's so cute. I just want to put it everywhere. But anyways, we are going to go ahead and jump straight into it. I'm first going to start off with a little bit of nail prep. But first, I wanted to give you a closer look as to what my nails are looking like currently. And as you can see, my nails are definitely a bit damaged, especially on the 4 nails that I work on mainly. So I definitely have a good bit of rings of fire and some dents, so I have been trying my best to grow them out as best as possible without like re-damaging them as I always do. But anyways, we're gonna start off with some nail prep, and I just went ahead and skipped that section because I do it in almost all of my videos. But if you want to see what I do for my prep, you can always check my latest video, which I will have in the cards above for you guys. So yeah, here's what they are looking like. So now we're going to get into the tip application, and I have been gravitating so much towards GelX nails recently. And I think the reason for that is because they are so convenient and quick. And as a nail art girly, I just feel like it makes the process so much easier. I can get these nail tips on in about 30 minutes and move straight into the nail art. But anyways, as you can see, I'm just going ahead and sizing out all of my nail tips, and I like to make sure that these nail tips fit sidewall to sidewall. So if you feel like there is a small gap on the sides of your nails, then definitely size up. And if you feel like it's overlapping your skin, then definitely size down. So now we are going to apply these nail tips, and for me today, I'm going to be using a little bit of builder gel, and I'm also going to be using my gooseneck lamp as always. This is super convenient so that I don't have to figure out a way to stick my hand under the lamp. But before I do anything, I'm just going to scuff the inside of this nail tip, and the reason I do this is to help create a little bit of friction for the base gel to stick to. And if you don't have some type of friction or scratches inside of the nail tip, these will pop off super easily, and it just makes the process a lot more difficult in the end. And as you can see, I'm only scuffing the area where it's going to be applied to my natural nail. I don't feel the need to go any further than that because it's just going to make the nail look scratchy. So I'm being careful to only scratch the base of this nail tip. And as some of you may know, I'm going to be doing my pinky as a press-on nail a little bit later, so we're just going to put this to the side. So now let's get into this application, and again, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be using some builder gel for today. Now, I don't think that builder gel is the correct base gel, but I feel like it works pretty well because it has that really nice thick consistency. So I'm first going to start out by putting just a small amount of this base gel into the well of this nail tip, and I'm only covering the area that I scuffed up, so no need to go super far down. And before I apply it to my nail, I'm going to put just a tiny bit of gel onto the center of my nail. And the reason I do this is because these nail tips have a bit of an apex. And if I don't apply an extra bit of gel here, it's not going to be enough gel to fill in the well of this nail tip. So this just helps to fill it out nice and evenly without having to press it down too far. Now, as you can see, when I'm pressing it down, I'm making sure not to move too fast because I really don't want this nail to flood too much. And once I have it nice and pressed down and the gel is spread nice and evenly, I'm just going to place that underneath my gooseneck lamp. And I also like to make sure to get the bottom of this nail tip. And the reason for that is because this gel is definitely a bit on a thicker side. So this just helps to make sure that everything is nice and fully cured. And once I'm done with that nail, I'm just going to repeat the entire process for all 4 of my nails. So the nails are applied and here's what they are looking like. They are definitely not perfect, but I think every time I do GelX, I get just a little bit better. So now we're gonna go ahead and cut these down using some tip cutters. And for today, I was actually going to do some almond nails at first, but I figured it would be a lot better to do maybe an almondetto nail, just because, you know, it's spooky season. I feel like the pointy nails definitely give scary. So yeah, I'm first gonna cut them down to my desired length. And now I'm gonna go in with a straight edge nail clipper just to cut the sides into the desired shape. And now I'm going to file them into the shape that I want using my 8080 grit nail file. And I feel like I should mention this, but I only use 8080 grit nail files because they're what I have. You definitely don't need something this gritty for GelX nails or even something like polygel. You can definitely go for something like a 100-100 nail file. Also, it's a lot more gentle on the skin. So if you are prone to just filing the sides of your nails, like the skin part, then definitely don't use something this gritty because you will definitely cut yourself. But if you still want to give these a go, I definitely recommend seasoning these files a little bit. And basically what that means is you take 2 nail files and you use one of the nail files to file the edge of this nail file. And I know I said file a lot, but you get what I'm saying. And basically what this does is it just dulls out the edge of the nail file so that it doesn't cut your skin. Me personally, I don't do that, especially for nail files that I use for myself. If I am doing someone else's nails, I may do it, but for the most part, I don't cut my clients, so I don't really have too many issues with that. But if you do, then definitely give it a try. So now it's time to remove the shine from the surface of the nail tip and also seal those cuticles. So because these are GelX nails, there is a little bit of a ledge towards the cuticle area. So I'm just going to be taking this ceramic bit just to kind of get rid of that ledge. And I'm making sure to be pretty careful here because as you can see, there is a bit of a gap between my natural nail and the nail tip. And I want to make sure that I'm not filing into my nails, which is something that I am just very prone to, especially because I do use ceramic and carbide bits, which are a little bit more on the coarse side. So I'm just going to be gently grazing this over the cuticle area, and I'm making sure to kind of hold this parallel to the surface of the nails. Again, just to make sure that I'm not filing into my actual nails. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to take that same bit just to kind of scuff the surface a little bit. This is really just to help remove the shine so that the gel polish can stick to this. Now, you don't have to do this with a ceramic bit. You can always use a mini buffer, but I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I just decided to use this bit instead. It does the exact same thing, so it doesn't really matter what you use. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before we get into the nail art is I'm actually going to further seal the cuticles using a little bit of acetone. And this is something that I have been trying out for the past few GelX nail sets. And the reason this kind of helps to seal the cuticles is because the acetone actually melts the nail tip a little bit, and it just makes the cuticle area a lot more seamless and just smooth looking. And for anyone who also uses a peel off base coat like I do, this does not affect how it comes off in the end. I'm still able to easily take these off with little to no work at all, so definitely give it a try if you have been thinking about it. as always, I'm just going to quickly clean off the surface of my nails using a little bit of alcohol before we move on to the nail art. This is just to help ensure that there's no sticky residue left around my cuticles and that there's also no dust from the filing process. And I'm also just going underneath a little bit, and I didn't mention this, but I also got rid of that big glob underneath the thumbnail, and I didn't think that I needed to do it, but it was really bothering me, so I just kind of filed it a little bit. So now we're gonna get into today's nail art, and today's nail palette is pretty simple. It's just a collection of black and red, and I also threw in some nude sort of light pink colors as well. Now this nail set was actually inspired by a multitude of nail sets that I saw on Pinterest, and I will make sure to include the pictures here for you guys so you can see exactly where my inspiration was, I guess, going after, if that makes sense. However, I did try and mix it up a little bit and not be too inspired by one specific nail set, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was a little bit nervous about this nail set because in my head I was thinking this looks so good, but is it too much for YouTube? But I did kind of look around on YouTube and see what other nail techs are posting, and honestly I don't think it's that bad. But just to reiterate what I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, this does include depictions, and I will also be talking about some, I guess, religious topics, not necessarily, but there is kind of some things to do with occultism and just religion, and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So if that is not your cup of tea, definitely feel free to come back next week. I am going to be uploading a couple more Halloween nail sets before the end of the first week of November, because I was going to try and do maybe 4 or 5 nail sets before I moved fully into fall and winter nails, but we're kind of running a little bit late. So as I mentioned in my last video, I'm probably going to be doing some Halloween nail sets towards the beginning of November, which is totally fine because I don't really care too much about meeting deadlines or whatever, which is not great. And what I mean by that is I don't really like to give myself hard set deadlines for seasonal nails because I don't really think it's important to meet certain deadlines for things like this. Like, it's really not that big of a deal, so I don't really care. And also I'm a procrastinator, so I gotta give myself a little bit of time. But anyways, we're starting on our pointer finger, and this one is probably, I guess, kind of easy. It's not too difficult. And I feel like I say this in all of my videos, but I feel like the pointer finger is always the easiest for some reason. But anyways, this nail is inspired by, I don't really know if I should say this word. I don't know if that's okay. So I'm just going to put it on the screen. So yeah, it's inspired by this. Now, this one's pretty simple. I'm just going to be taking some solid nail glue gel, and I'm just going to be mixing a little bit of red and black into it just to create a nice brown color. Now, I have heard from one of you guys that you have to be careful about mixing gel polish into these gels. So I tried not to mix too much gel polish into these because I didn't want it to affect the consistency or the curing process too much. So anyway, once I've mixed that color in, I'm just going to place it onto the nail and just kind of mush it around to make it look like this word on the screen again. And afterwards, I'm going to cure that for a full 30 seconds. Next, I'm going to be using this ombre brush to create some dimension in this nail, and I'm just going to be going over the 3D parts using a little bit of red as well as the lighter pink. And I really wanted to give the illusion of, I think blood is okay to say, so I wanted to give the illusion of blood. And this nail set, by the way, is supposed to be gross and kind of nasty. So yeah, just prepare to be kind of maybe uncomfortable if you're not okay with this. So again, if you don't want to watch this, I completely understand. But yeah, I wanted this nail to look kind of bloody and gross and as realistic as I could get it. And I really did enjoy using this ombre brush because it kind of made it so that I could get the smallest amount of color on there without like it being too much. Because while I was putting the colors on, I tried to marble them as best as I could just to make it look a little bit more natural. After I've got the desired color that I want, I'm just going to cure that again. And after that is cured, I'm going in with a little bit of rhinestone glue just to create some more 3D parts. I really just wanted this nail to be kind of lumpy, so that's basically what this step is for. And once that's done, I'm going to go over this entire nail using a little bit of top coat. And I'm not too concerned with getting it on the perimeter of this nail because this nail set is mainly going to be matte. And I really only used the top coat because I wanted it to look real and like wet, which is so nasty to say. But honestly though, I really wanted it to look kind of real and a bit moist, I guess. And for the parts that I want to be not shiny, I'm going to go over that with a little bit of matte top coat, and specifically because I'm trying to get it into the crevices, I am applying this top coat using a line art brush just to really get into the nooks and crannies. Now, a smarter way to do this is to apply matte top coat to the entire nail first and then add the regular top coat. And the reason why I say this is because it's really difficult to see where exactly the matte top coat is because it's obviously shiny before you cure it. So I would say do this the other way around, just so that you can see what you're doing. So now I'm going to work on the middle finger, and the first thing that I did is I took this nude jelly base and I actually mixed in a little bit of white just to make a muted pink color. I wanted this to have a similar effect as a milky white acrylic, and because these are GelX nails, it doesn't really give the same effect, but I think it was close enough. I just want there to be a nice like milky white base, and I'm just painting this on the entire surface of the nail in about 2 layers. So now I'm going back to this ombre brush, and this nail is actually very interesting and probably one of my favorites, which if you guys haven't noticed, you can probably tell which ones are my favorite nails whenever I post photos, because my favorite nails are the ones that I try to emphasize the most. But anyways, this one is very interesting because we're going to be creating a very stripy and sort of bloody French tip, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to be taking this rusty red color and I'm going to be creating a light ombre sort of French tip towards the tip of the nail. And as I get further towards the tip of the nail, I get more aggressive with how much color I'm using. And for this part, I really wanted it to be really messy and kind of splotchy. So not only am I adding these lines and stripes, but I'm also doing some dots here and there just to make it look a little bit more bloody, I guess. And I was actually surprised by how much this color resembles blood. It's actually kind of scary. I don't know. I've had this color for a while and I don't think I've ever used it for something like this, but this color is absolutely perfect and I loved it so much. So after I got the sort of stippled French tip on there, I'm going to be creating a red X towards the center of the nail. And I'm not going to lie, you guys, this nail set was not really inspired by this movie, but for whatever reason, this nail definitely gave Blair Witch or even like Evil Dead, I feel like. And I haven't seen Blair Witch in so long, and I know for a fact that there's no X's in the movie that look like this. I know there's like an assortment of branches that kind of looks like an X, but I loved this nail. This nail definitely gave folklore horror, and I love folklore horror and just anything that's really grimy and kind of dark. I love that, and this is not the first time I've mentioned this. So yeah, you guys already know I love horror. I love things dark and gross and creepy and disturbing, and this nail definitely gave that for me, and I just really enjoyed it. Speaking of Blair Witch and just horror movies, how have you guys been preparing for spooky season? Me and my family, we've actually been doing this thing where we create a list of horror movies that we want to watch for the spooky season, and we just go down the list. Now, because everyone's kind of busy and we all have our different schedules, and sometimes we just don't feel like being in each other's faces, we haven't really watched that many movies, but I feel like I definitely want to carry on this sort of quote unquote tradition with myself. So I'm thinking maybe tonight I'll watch a couple of scary movies. Speaking of, I actually just watched one of my, I guess, bucket list scary movies recently. It's called Tetsuo the Iron Man, and this movie's crazy. Like, it's insane. Not even because it's super scary or disturbing or anything, but if you've watched it, you know this movie makes absolutely no sense and it's goofy, okay? It's so goofy. And also, if you have seen this movie, then you know how much this movie gets hyped up. And I was actually very excited to watch it and also very scared because I remember watching it on Amazon Prime, like the little preview, and the preview was intense. I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely very disturbing and I was a little bit tense. But once I started watching the movie, literally like 10 minutes in, I was like, what is this? Okay, this is a mess. But it's really good and I actually really enjoyed it because it's definitely different than any other horror movie I've ever seen, and it's just very creative and it's very inspiring because the person who created the movie was actually working with a very low budget. So I thought that that was very cool. But yeah, if you guys have been watching scary movies or just getting prepared for Halloween, let me know down below what you guys have been up to. As for actual Halloween festivities, I don't think I'm actually going to be doing anything. I'm not dressing up this year, which I did mention a little bit earlier this year that I did want to dress up, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I'm not going to be dressing up. I probably won't be going trick-or-treating either because where I live, they typically do trick-or-treating a couple of days prior to Halloween. So I don't know. Maybe I'll see if we can go the 31st, which I believe is Friday. I don't remember. But if so, we might do something. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to see what my little brother and sister are up to, because if they don't want to go, then I'm not going to go because, first of all, I'm 22, okay? I'm too old to be knocking on people's doors asking for candy, okay? I'm too old for that. But if you are going trick-or-treating and you are dressing up, or maybe you're just getting cute and dolled up, let me know how that goes. Let me know what you guys are going to be dressing up as, what makeup looks you're going to be doing. But enough rambling. I figured for this portion, I should talk a little bit about what I'm doing here. So this is my ram's head nail. And basically what I started out by doing is creating a black base for the entire surface of the nail. And now I'm going in and I'm taking a little bit of solid nail glue gel and I'm mixing in some white gel polish. Now, because this is supposed to resemble bone structure, I'm not adding too much white. In fact, I would actually suggest mixing in a little bit of yellow just to make it look more realistic, because obviously our bones aren't super white like this. So after I've got that mixed in, I rolled it into a ball and now I'm going to start shaping it on my nail. Now this part is definitely more on the tricky side, and I actually had to watch a tutorial while I was doing this. And if I can, I will try and link the tutorial in the description box below. So the nail that I referenced a little bit earlier is by the same person who posted the tutorial, and that was on Pinterest. So hopefully I can actually link it below in my description box. But yeah, it was actually kind of difficult, and I will say that you definitely need to work pretty fast for this. And my bone structure was not the greatest. I definitely forgot to add nostrils, which sad. It's okay, mistakes happen. Anyway, I did add the nostrils a little bit later with some gel polish and it worked pretty okay. The most difficult part about doing this was creating dimension, especially for the sort of like separation towards the tip of the bone. And then the eye sockets were kind of difficult. And I didn't really feel like I got the look that I was looking for, but I would say for my first try, it was pretty good. Like, I actually wasn't too mad at it. So after I've got the skeleton done, I'm going to start working on the horns. And again, I'm mixing a little bit of solid nail glue gel with some white gel polish just to give it that sort of white bone color. And by the way, I definitely recommend working with a silicone brush because it prevents the solid nail glue gel from sticking everywhere, which is definitely not fun when you're working with this stuff. So after I have rolled that into a skinny tube, I'm going to start placing on these horns, and you definitely have to work fast with these horns because they start to drop pretty easily. So I did these horn by horn, and I tried my best to give it that nice curved effect. And you can probably tell, but I'm like out of frame for a lot of this, and that's because I was really trying to get this right. But yeah, again, for my first try, it honestly wasn't super bad. Like, I think if I did this again, I could definitely do better, but for my first go, I'm definitely pretty proud of myself. I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the most intricate 3D nail art I've ever done before, and I was a little nervous about doing this ram's head because obviously there is a lot of religious symbolism, and I'm not necessarily religious myself, but I do understand that the ram's head does hold a lot of religious significance. So I was actually thinking of switching this out to a regular skull, but I was like, no, this is just too cool. Like, there's no way that I can just like throw this away. I have to do this. I mean, like, I don't have to do it, but I really wanted to. Now, this nail actually, again, reminds me of sort of folklore horror, but instead of Blair Witch, I'm definitely getting, I guess I'm getting the Witch movie, which I haven't seen in a very long time, so I don't remember that much from the movie. So maybe I'll watch it again pretty soon, but that's what this nail gave. And I have seen a lot of people do this nail with a pentagram on the forehead of the ram, which I was like, even for me, that's too much, and I don't want to go there, okay? That's a bit much. So I ended up doing a cross a little bit later, which I will show. As for now, I'm just using some rhinestone glue to further accentuate those horns, and I'm also adding some to the areas I want to pop out just a little bit more. As you can see, I'm kind of just creating some dimension within the bone, and I'm kind of making it look a little bit more shadowed and dirty. And for that, I'm just using a little bit of sheer black and this ombre brush. And you guys will see this when I do this, but I'm also going to be adding some of that rusty red as well. And the idea behind the red was someone had, you know, grimy hands and was putting their hands all over this bone. That's kind of what I was going for. So now I'm using that rusty red to create a cross in the middle of the ram's skull. And like I said before, I've seen so many people do this with a pentagram, and again, that's too much for me. So I kept it kind of minimal instead and just did a cross. And I also added a little bit of black just to create some dimension. And now I'm going in with a little bit of my chrome gel paint, and I'm just kind of brushing this very roughly onto the horns. And I really only did this because I wanted these horns to kind of have a little bit of shine and just something interesting to look at, I guess. I feel like I always say that when I don't know what to say, but you get what I'm saying. So afterwards, I'm just going over this nail with a layer of top coat. Now the entire nail is getting top coated with this one, and I made sure to even get the horns as well. But after I got the top coat on, I'm actually going to be going back in with some matte top coat. And that's because, again, I did want it to kind of resemble, you know, bone, and bone is not super shiny. So yeah, that's what I did. I did decide to keep the horns nice and shiny because I did use chrome and I didn't want the chrome to be super dull. And now I'm jumping back to my middle finger, and I decided to add a chain towards the perimeter of the nail. Now in the beginning, I was actually going to have some hanging parts of the chain, which I did leave until the very end of the video. And I thought in the beginning that it looked kind of cool, but after looking at it for a while, it just looked unfinished. So I ended up gluing it all the way around, at least towards the right side of the nail. I didn't wrap around the entire nail, but I just feel like it looked so much better once it was completely glued down. So yeah, that is what I'm doing here. And these 3 nails are done, and now we're gonna move on to our thumbnail. So this one is pretty similar to the middle finger, except it's not really the same. It's a little bit different, but not too different. So I'm first going to start out by painting this light pink color on the entire nail. Now I did do mine in about 2 layers, but I don't think it's necessary to do it in 2 layers, just because I feel like the streaky look kind of goes with this theme. So I wouldn't be too mad at it if I didn't do 2 layers. So now I'm going to be going around the perimeter of this nail using some eyeshadow that I stole from my mom. Also, shout out to my mom. I literally just like steal her eyeshadow sometimes and she just lets me. So shout out to my mom. I appreciate you. And I'll give this back like in a couple days. We'll see. Anyway, so this palette actually has lots of pinks and sort of burgundy colors, and I thought it would be a nice addition because I wanted this nail to look kind of bruised. So I will be going in with black and a little bit of red as well, but I feel like the pink and purple kind of gave it that extra bruised effect, which is what I wanted, because this nail is kind of inspired by skin that has been just really neglected and definitely damaged as well. And I'm also going in with that ombre brush to create some thin streaks and some spots. This definitely helped to create a more grungy appearance. Now, this is not really a video of me just talking about scary movies and games, but this nail definitely reminded me of Silent Hill. Like, it gave me Silent Hill vibes. Like, this nail definitely gives me lying figure vibes with the sort of stitched up and just gross, white, bruised looking skin. But anyways, yeah, I'm just going in and adding some more detail using this ombre brush as well as a dotting tool. And I'm pretty much going in with all of the red colors that I have as well as black. And I'm trying to focus more on using that rusty red color because, again, it gives that sort of dried blood effect. And I really thought that it would work for this nail. And now we're going to be adding some spikes to these nails, and I'm going to be using the largest silver spikes in this little pack, and I'm just going to be curing them on using a little bit of rhinestone glue. I only decided to add 3 because I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted to add something else to this nail, and I didn't end up using any more, but I feel like it was just enough. And so after I have those positioned, I'm going to go ahead and cure those. And now I'm going around those spikes using the same white base that I used for the base of this nail. And as you can see, this consistency is a lot thicker, and that's because I mixed this with a little bit of rhinestone glue. And the reason for that is because I did want this to be a little bit thicker because I wanted these spikes to look like they were coming out of this nail. And you know, skin has multiple layers, so it's not super thin, and I feel like this definitely helped to give the effect that I wanted. And now I'm going around that white gel polish and I'm just creating a more bruised and bloody looking surface around those spikes. So now I'm finishing off this nail with a little bit of matte top coat, and I really wanted to make sure to get this on the entire nail without getting it on the spikes. So I am being very careful to go around them as gently as possible. And afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and cure that for a full 60 seconds. So those 4 nails are done, and now we're going to move on to our pinky nail. And I will be honest, I was not going to include this part in the video because this video was getting pretty long, and I honestly am so sick and tired of doing press-ons every single time I do my nails, but it is something that I just have to deal with, and I didn't want to just leave you guys hanging on my pinky. So here we are. Now this nail is very, very similar to both my middle and my thumbnail. So pretty much I did the same white base that I did on those 2 nails. And similarly to what I did on my thumb, I'm going to do around the perimeter as well. But for this nail, I didn't add the eyeshadow, and I definitely think that I should have because I really did like the purple and sort of pinkish look that the thumbnail had. But even still, I think it came out pretty similar. It didn't really make that much of a difference. And as you guys saw, I did kind of create a wound in the center of this nail, and that was pretty straightforward. I just kind of marbled a couple of reds and black, as well as those peachy sort of pink colors. Now to give it that sort of bruised open skin look, I'm going in with that same thicker white base to thicken up just the edge of that bruise. And again, this is going to help create the illusion of skin because skin has multiple layers. So I want to go ahead and emulate that. And once I have that skin on, I'm going to go around the bruise area with a little bit of black just to create a little bit more depth and dimension. And of course, I'm taking some of that rusty red color onto the skin just to make it look obviously hurt and bruised. And after that's done, I'm going to go over this nail with a layer of matte top coat. Now this was a bit of an afterthought, but I thought it would be cool to add some staples. Again, this nail kind of reminded me of the lying figure, so I wanted to get those stitches in there just to make it look a little bit more realistic and kind of gross. Now instead of using some chrome gel paint, I think it would be super cool to use maybe some cut up pieces of staples if you have any, just to give it that extra 3D and realistic effect. And after I got the chrome gel paint on there, I'm going to go over the sort of more wet and bloody parts with a little bit of top coat. And that completes that nail. And here is what all of these nails are looking like. And lastly, I'm just going to finish off this nail set with a little bit of cuticle oil. And that completes today's nail set. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this one. This nail set is insane, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to top this with my next Halloween nail set. This is definitely a lot better than I thought I could do, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know that this nail set is probably a bit too much and a little bit more on the disturbing side, but I think that's what makes spooky season, just being disturbed, being a little bit spooky and scary. And so if you made it this far and stuck with me during this process, I just want to say thank you so much. Let me know if you guys would wear this this nail set for Halloween, this is absolutely a yes across the board, 10 out of 10, okay? I just think it definitely gives what it needs to give, and my favorite nails would probably be the middle and the ring finger. The rim is definitely not what I was expecting, and I was hoping to maybe do it a little bit better, but for my first go, it's definitely a lot better than I thought it would be, so I am very, very proud of myself with this one. If I were to put this nail set on a scale of 1 to 10, again, 10 out of 10 across the board. I love everything about this nail set, and the fact that it's matte makes it even better because, as you guys know, I'm not the hugest fan of matte nails, so this one definitely took me by surprise. So yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. But as always, I'm going to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next one.